Kia ora. Good morning everyone, Richard Wong here from New Zealand again. So after many rumors and also many teasers from Nikon, the Nikon full frame mirrorless camera has finally arrived, and here it is. I have the Nikon Z7, their first full frame mirrorless camera. So is this the future for all the Nikon users? And if you are currently a Nikon DSLR user, should you be switching to the new mirror system? I will answer these questions in this review. When I first picked up the camera, my first impression was that it's very comfortable camera to hold in the hand, because if you look at it, the grip is very decent size and the shape of it is also very nicely designed. So it feels almost like pick up a DSLR, but it's quite a bit smaller. And just to make it clear, the Z7 is not a professional grade camera. If you look at the dial at the top, if you are a Nikon DSLR user, you probably know that the dial here on this side, on the left side of the camera, it is pretty much exactly the same as a D750. Professional camera like the D850 or D5 or D500, they have a completely different style of design. So yeah, this is not a professional camera. This is more like a prosumer or whatever you call it. So not a professional camera. Probably because of it, Nikon has only put one card slot on the side, which I know you probably have heard people complain about it, talk about it many times already. And personally, I was also a bit disappointed about it only have one single card slot. But then Nikon's official reason is that there is not enough space to put two XQD card, which is probably kind of true as well. So yeah, I'm definitely a bit disappointed because I'm a wedding photographer, and dual card slot redundancy is quite important to me. But if you are not going to use the camera professionally, then single card slot or dual card slot probably doesn't matter too much to you. And look at the good thing is, it has the XQD card slot, which is really fast, that help you clear the buffer very quickly, which is quite important because the memory buffer on the Z7 is actually not that large. So it's good to have a card slot that can clear the buffer very quickly. And also the camera will be upgraded to support the CF Express by firmware in the near future, so that you can use the newer CF Express card in the future when it becomes available. So if you are a long-time Nikon user, the chances are this is probably the first mirrorless camera you ever use. If you are worried about the switch over from a DSLR camera to a completely different mirrorless camera system, I can tell you it's not really that hard to switch over. I have borrowed the manual from Nikon when I pick up the camera as well, because I thought I might need to read the manual a little bit. But end up, I pick up the camera, I use it a little bit. I think within 10-15 minutes, I already completely get used to how the camera operates, where the buttons, functions, dials, everything are, how to use the camera. I can say like after 15 minutes, I'm already very familiar with the camera. But of course, because I have used many different cameras and definitely many mirrorless cameras, so it takes me a lot faster for me to just learn the basics about the Nikon Z7. But don't worry, even if you have never used a mirrorless camera before, I'm pretty sure you will pick up the all the basics very quickly, because the button layout, the menu system, the overall the control, ergonomics, everything is very similar to the Nikon DSLR cameras. I say very similar because it's not really identical, but it's probably like 80–90% similar. So I am pretty sure after probably an afternoon or so, even without reading the menus, you should be able to pick up all the basics about the camera very easily. Now, one thing I really like about the camera is electronic viewfinder. It's really big, it's really bright, and also very high resolution. When you are looking through the viewfinder, looking at the real world, it's almost like you are just looking through a optical viewfinder. The only hints that tell you it is a electronic viewfinder is that the dynamic range, when you are shooting some very high contrast scene, is not exactly the same as just looking through using your naked eyes. But other than that, it's almost like you are looking through just a normal optical viewfinder. The lag is very minimal, and there are not many artifacts as well. And one thing I also really like is that look at the side of the camera. You can see that the viewfinder actually extrudes quite a bit from the back of the camera. So that's very good, because when you put the viewfinder, when you put the camera up onto your face, your nose won't be rubbing the touch screen, which is a problem with some other mirrorless cameras. Nikon did quite a good job implementing the touch screen interface for the Z7. The menu system is very responsive to your touch control. It's very smooth when you're scrolling up and down and responds instantly. You can also use the touch gesture to play back, zoom in, zoom out when you're reviewing photos. You can also, when you're shooting using the LCD screen, you can also just tap to take pictures, so you can easily give the camera to anyone and ask them to take picture for you, unlike a DSLR, which you probably wouldn't be able to get any good picture if you just give it to any random people to take a picture for you on the street. The LCD screen itself is also very bright, very good color, and I have absolutely no problem if I have to use it under bright sunlight like today. The only thing I want to complain about is that, even though the LCD screen you can flip it up and down, but for some reason they don't allow you to flip down like 180 degree like some other camera can do. Because if they allow you to flip down by 180 degree, then it would be an awesome camera for vlogging as well, because it can capture full frame 4K and 10-bit video, and it has a very good autofocus system for video, and it also has in-body image stabilizer. So and also external mic input and also HDMI output if you want to use it. So it's pretty much the perfect camera for vlogging. The only thing is I can't really see myself if I hold the camera like this. So yeah, I really wish Nikon make the screen that can flip down 180 degree. Oh well, so it's still not the perfect vlogging camera yet. So even though I said this is not a professional camera, there are already a number of buttons and dials on the camera, and all of them are customizable. So you can easily customize the camera to shoot exactly how you want to use it. Overall, the ergonomics of the camera is excellent. If there's one thing I want to complain about is that the exposure compensation button is right at the edge of the camera, which is a button I use a lot because I shoot in aperture priority, shutter priority, and also even full menu mode with the auto ISO on. And all the time I want to use the exposure compensation to adjust the exposure, especially now with the EVF I can preview the exposure. So a lot of time I would like to adjust the exposure slightly, and the position of the exposure compensation button is not really the best position when I'm shooting. When I'm holding like this, I have to reach my finger like this, which is not the easiest button to reach. So I would really prefer if they switch this button with probably the record button, which is a button that I don't need to press all the time. So yeah, that would be my only minor complaint about the ergonomic and design of the camera. But apart from that, I have nothing really to complain about the camera, and I think the ergonomic of the camera is excellent. As a mirrorless camera, the startup time of the Z7 is very fast. By the time you turn on the power button and move the camera up to your face, the camera is already ready for you to take photo. The Nikon Z7 using a hybrid autofocus system, so it has the on-sensor face detection and also contrast detection system. In real world, the autofocus system works really quite well. I have been using the camera with the 24-70 f4 kit lens and also tried it with the 35 1.8 S lens that are both launched with the Nikon Z7. And I would say the Z7's autofocus system performance is very close to the D850 or the D500, at least when you are shooting under good lighting condition. When you are shooting under very dark condition, then I noticed the autofocus system on the Z7 would be a little bit slower and sometimes hunt quite a bit more if you compare to a D850. But compared to, say, my D800, it is a lot better already. Now, with the release of the Z7, Nikon has created a completely new lens mount, which is called the Z mount, which is where the Z7 lens comes from. And because of that, Nikon has created a FTZ lens adapter, which allows you to mount your f-mount lens like this 35 1.4G lens onto your Z camera. And when you do that, you still have the autofocus, you still have the VR, metering will still works. So it's pretty much the same as if you mount it on a DSLR camera. And I did quite a bit of testing how the performance it will be like when you mount the f-mount lens onto the Z7 using the adapter. And I have to say, I'm quite happy with the autofocus performance when I mount the f-mount lens onto the Z7 camera using the adapter. Under some conditions, the performance of the f-mount lenses on the Z7 is almost the same as if I mount it directly onto a D850. The autofocus accuracy when I mount it on the Z7 is actually seems to be more accurate, more consistent than when I mount it on the D850. When I'm shooting under dim lighting condition or the object I shoot does not have very high contrast, then I do notice the autofocus performance when I mount the lens on the Z7 using the adapter is not quite as good as if I mount it on the D850 directly. So overall, I would say the performance of the f-mount lens mounted on the Z7 using the adapter is maybe around 85% as good overall if you compare it with the D850. So it's definitely very usable, and under a lot of lighting condition you'll be struggle to tell the difference unless you are shooting with the two cameras side by side. And I think for most users, you'll be quite happy with how your f-mount lenses performs on the Z7 using the adapter. If you are someone like me who also has some manual focus Nikon lenses, for example like this AIS 50mm f1.2 lens, then you really should bring them out and connect it to the Z7 camera using the F2Z adapter. Because with the electronic viewfinder and the peaking feature and also the ability to zoom in and check the focus, manual focus on the Z7 is very easy and very accurate. I usually struggle to nail the focus when I'm using this lens on my DSLR, no matter I'm using the viewfinder or the live view, or even with the film camera, which has a lot lower resolution. I always can't really nail the focus. It's a bit like 50-50. Sometimes I get it right, sometimes I get a slightly front focus, back focus. But when I try them on the Z7, I managed to get a very high success rate, and pretty much all the photos I took, even with this 51.2 lens at 1.2, I can nail the focus so easily and so quickly. So overall, I'm really excited about using manual focus lenses on the Z7 because I feel like the Z7 gives all my old Nikon manual focus lenses a second life. The Z7 comes with the new ENEL15B battery, which can also be charged by the USB port on the camera. It's also compatible with the older ENEL15 battery, but you cannot charge them through the USB port on the camera. The battery life is rated at 330 shots, which is not very impressive at all, but when I'm using it in real life, I find the battery life is actually a lot better. Like right now, I have charged the battery yesterday morning, and then I have took, let's see, 518 pictures. Most of them not in burst mode. I only took it in burst mode for like maybe 30 or 40 shots. So most of them are single shot, and I also took around 10 to 15 minutes of video, 4K videos on top of that. And as you can imagine, because I'm reviewing the camera, I have been going through the menu system and reviewing the photo and video quite a bit. And so after 500-ish shots, 10-15 minutes video, and look at the battery, it still say I have 4 out of 5 battery left on the camera. So yeah, the battery life is definitely a lot better than the official 330 shots figure. The Z7 has an in-body image stabilizer, and the factory claim figure is 5-stop effective. My own testing suggests it is around 4-stop effective, which is not really surprising, as usually my own testing is a little bit lower than the factory figure. I also tried put on the AIS 50mm f1.2 lens onto the Z7 using the FTZ adapter, as I want to see if there's any difference in the effective of the image stabilization between using a native Z mount lens and a f mount lens using the FTZ adapter, and my result seems to suggest there is absolutely no difference no matter you're using a Z mount native lens or a f mount lens using the adapter. Okay, before we head back to my office and look at the image quality, first let me show you some of the video footage I shot on the Nikon Z7. And first, let's do a little bit of vlogging style video capturing, and I'm now holding the camera like vlogging. The only bad thing is I can't see the screen, so with the 24mm lens, hopefully I can center myself quite nicely, that you probably can tell whether I did a good job or not. And let's turn around and see how the autofocus works. And back to my face. Can it focus on my face quickly enough? Don't know. And back. Now I do notice the Z7 with the 24-70 kit lens is actually not too heavy. It's actually feel lighter than the P1000 that I was reviewing just recently, because right now I'm holding it for a minute or so and my arm is not really tired at all. I do notice that the rolling shutter seems to be quite noticeable when I'm turning the camera around quite quickly. But other than that, the image quality, the autofocus performance seems to be very well if I want to use it as a vlogging camera. I guess if I really want to do that, then I can always connect the external radio LCD screen on top of the camera, so I can see myself when I'm using it as a vlogging camera. Hey everyone, welcome back to my office, and now let's talk about the image quality of the Nikon Z7. So the Nikon Z7 has a full-frame 46 megapixel image sensor, and this is the same resolution as the image sensor on the Nikon D850, which is widely praised for its excellent image quality. So I'm expecting the same excellent image quality from the Z7 as well, and the image quality indeed is very good. If you take the photo using the Z7 and pair it with a good quality lens such as the Z2470 f4 lens that is released with the Z7, which is also the kit lens for the Z7, and it can capture tons of details. Even if you zoom in and look at it at 100%, you can see very sharp and lots of details that is captured by the Z7. So if you want resolution, the Z7 definitely can satisfy you. Next, let's talk about the low light performance. So despite it's a very high resolution 46 megapixel image sensor, the low light performance is actually pretty good. I have took a set of images from the base ISO 64 all the way to the maximum ISO, which means including the high one and high two. High two is ISO 102,400, and here are the images that I have took from the base and the maximum ISO. These are all the images I shot in RAW, and I just convert to JPEG with zero adjustment. That means no noise reduction applied. As you can see, from the base ISO all the way up to around ISO 12,800, the image quality is still very decent, even if you are looking at the 100% crop. From ISO 25,600, then the image quality is starting to drop more dramatically, but I would probably be happy to shoot all the way up to ISO 51,200 if I really shooting under low light condition. At maximum ISO 102,400, the image quality is really not that good. There are lots of hot pixels if you zoom in at 100%, and overall the image quality is not very good, maybe only for emergency use only. And the next photo, I just want to show you how the raw file from the Z7 would respond in post-processing. So when I shot this photo, I shot it in the base ISO, which is ISO 64, and I intentionally underexposed it by 6 stops. So 6 stops is quite a lot. Normally you wouldn't do that, but I want to test how would it respond when you try to push it in post-processing. So I import the photo into Adobe Lightroom and then apply a +6 EV adjustment to the whole file, and this is the result I got. Now this is completely just pushed by 6 stops, and there's no other editing done to it at all. No curve adjustment, no noise reduction. So if you zoom in, you will see lots of hot pixels when you look at it at 100%, and I didn't touch any curve or black level or brightness or anything. So just push by 6 stops, and I have to say I'm very impressed by the result I got, because normally if you try to adjust the exposure more than 4 stops, maybe 4 or 5 stops, then you can still use the file, but you would need to do quite a bit of post-processing, noise reduction, curve adjustment if you want to have good image quality. But for the file from the Z7, I did a 6 stop push, and the result without any adjustment is already very usable. So overall, I'm definitely very impressed by Z7's image quality. It has the resolution, it has a dynamic range, and despite its high resolution, the high ISO performance is also pretty decent. So next, let's talk about the video quality. So the Z7 can record 4K full frame video up to 30 frames per second internally, and if you have an external video recorder, then it can output 10-bit 422 video even with analog. Unfortunately, I don't have an external video recorder, so I can't really test out the video quality recorded externally. But looking at the video footage that is captured internally, which I'll show you some of them earlier in this video, and I am also pretty impressed by the video quality from the Z7. The video quality is very high, it's very sharp, captures lots of details, the color is very nice, and the dynamic range seems to be very good as well. Now, traditionally, Nikon is not really a strong video camera company. They don't have a professional video camera, unlike the other brands, Panasonic, Sony, and Canon. They all have professional video cameras, so they have been doing that a long time. So not too many people choose to use Nikon if they want a video camera. But looking at the result from the Z7 and also the pretty impressive autofocus when you are recording video, I can see that if Nikon keep pushing the video technology, keep improving the image quality for the video file capture, then I can see more and more videographer would be choosing Nikon as their video camera. So overall, how do I feel about the Z7 after using it for a bit over a week? I won't say this is like the perfect or the best ever camera release, because it isn't. There are quite a few things I would like to see improve in the future. For example, the autofocus system, while it's quite good, is not as good as the autofocus system on the professional DSLR, not quite the same level yet. I want to see a bigger battery to improve the battery life back to the DSLR level. I want to see the flip screen to be able to flip down 180 degrees. The rolling shutter could be improved, and I definitely want to see dual slot on the camera as well. But while it's easy to list out, a lot of things that, it's not perfect, it's not as good as this, it's not as good as that, or it's not exactly how I want it. The good thing is, most of the things I list just before are things that Nikon can fix or do it easily, and I suspect they actually intentionally didn't do it so that they can keep it for the next higher level pro grade camera. The overall design, the handling, how everything fit together, they all feel like surprisingly polished and well thought out. It's almost like Nikon actually has been developing the Z camera for many years, and they have released many cameras internally, and it's like finally it reached the level that they are happy with, so that they decide they can now release the camera publicly. And the most important thing, I think, is Nikon got all the fundamental things absolutely correct. For example, the new Z lens mount, they could have held back by their proud history and use the F mount, which I think would be a terrible mistake if they do that. The F mount adapter seems to work very well, even though it may not be perfect, but it is good enough that I think most of the existing Nikon DSLR user will be happy when they switch over from the DSLR to the new Z mount using the adapter and keep using the F mount lenses. And the decision to put the in-body image stabilizer on the Z7 and also the upcoming Z6, I think that is absolutely correct decision. Now, I asked two questions at the beginning of this video. If you are a Nikon DSLR user, should you be switching to the Z7? And also, is the Z7 and also the Z mount system in general, is it the future? The first question, I think, is still quite hard to answer, so let me talk about the second one. Is the Z7 or the Z mount the future? And I say the answer is absolutely yes. With the new and much bigger Z lens mount, and also a very nice, well implemented live view mode finally on the Nikon camera, including a very usable video mode, I can see the Z mount and including the Z7 is definitely the future for the Nikon user, despite the fact that Nikon said that they're going to continue the development of the F mount and the Z mount in the future. Personally, if you ask me, my opinion is in the not so distant future, the role of the f mount will be dramatically reduced, and the Z mount will be the main focus for Nikon in the not so distant future. Now let's go back to the other question. If you are right now a Nikon DSLR user, should you be switching to the Z7? This is quite a hard question to answer. Let me say, if you are a professional photographer and you are looking at buying another new high resolution camera for professional use, I would probably still recommend the D850 instead of the Z7. They are very similarly priced. In terms of the spec, each has their own pros and cons, but the D850 does have a professional body and the professional control, and it also has some very important feature like the dual card slot. I know we talk about it so many times. So overall, for professional use, I think the Nikon D850 is still one of the best choice. It is still the best DSLR after 1 year of release, and I'm not just talking about Nikon. I'm talking about, you know, no matter what brand you're talking about, the D850, I personally believe it is still the best DSLR in the market. But if you are not a professional photographer, or you are a professional photographer but you want to buy a second or third camera that is not really for professional use, then should you be sticking with the Nikon DSLR, or you should switch to the mirrorless camera? I guess to answer this question, you have to ask yourself why or what are the benefits if you switch to a mirrorless camera. If you ask me, I say personally, I think there are three main benefits if you are switching to the Z7 or any of the new Z camera in the future. So the first one is the lens mount, the Z mount. The Z mount is a lot larger than the F mount. And let's make it clear, the large lens mount is not necessarily just means you can have faster lens. If you look at the Sony full frame system, which other people would tell you that the lens mount is really quite small. Some people even say that it is way too small for a full frame system. But there are also some fast lens there. There's a 50mm f/0.95, so it is possible to have fast lens even with a small diameter lens mount system. But the main benefit, if you have read some of the article that interviewing the Nikon engineer, is that the large lens mount and also the short flange distance just give them a lot more flexibility on how they design the lens. They could use less lens element. They could do some other things that they couldn't do before with the F mount. So I can definitely see this will result in better lens design, better image quality, less compromise in the future lens lineup. And also another benefit is that if you're using the Z mount camera system, you can also still use the F mount lenses. While if you use F mount camera, then you cannot use any of the Z mount lens. So definitely I can see this is one of the main benefits if you switch to the Z7. So the second benefit is the much better live view experience. If you are a Nikon user, I think you agree Nikon's live view implementation on their DSLR is never great, and it has not really improved that much over the last few years. Even the D850, which is a very good camera, but one of its weakness is still the live view, just the overall live view mode experience. For example, the autofocus system is quite slow and also hunts quite a bit. But this is no longer true when you are using the Nikon Z7. The overall live view implementation experience is no longer feel like it's like a secondary add-on system. It feels as usable and as polished as if you are shooting using the electronic viewfinder. Everything is very smooth, very fast. Autofocus also works very well. So overall, it just feels very polished and well implemented. And partially because of that, the video mode is now also greatly improved. You have a very usable autofocus system when you're shooting video, for example. So the live view mode is definitely another reason why you may want to switch to the Nikon Z7. And the last benefit, I also see the most important one, is the electronic viewfinder. What you see is what you can get, or almost what you can get, as the electronic viewfinder is almost never going to be 100% accurate, but it is close enough that definitely help you take nicer photo. Not only you can make sure your exposure, your white balance is good, the preview of your output would greatly help you to visualize what your output would look like, because what the camera capture a lot of time would be dramatically different to what you can see through optical viewfinder, or just just look at the real world yourself. They can look very different, depends on what exposure you choose, the change of the the contrast appearance, because it's captured by the sensor or the white balance, everything. So it can be very different, and with the preview, then it can help you quickly visualize what the final photo will be like. This would definitely help even the more experienced photographer. But if you are a newer, younger generation photographer who has not got much experience shooting using the optical viewfinder, then you definitely would prefer to use the electronic viewfinder view. You would find it a lot easier to shoot using the electronic viewfinder, and I'm sure because of that, the image you can capture will be better with the electronic viewfinder camera like the Nikon Z7. So you have to ask yourself, what is the benefit you get if you switch to the Nikon Z7? For me personally, I already have a full set of Nikon f-mount lenses, and I'm not planning to buy any new lenses for quite a while. So the three benefits I said, the first one doesn't really apply to me, but the second and third point about the live view, the better video mode, and also the electronic viewfinder, those are the things that I really want as a Nikon user, because the Nikon DSLR never give me any of those. So for me, I am very interested in the Nikon Z7 and the Nikon Z system in general. But if you think this is too expensive, or you don't need the 46 megapixel resolution, then maybe wait a little bit and check out the next one from Nikon, which is the Nikon Z6, which has a more is quite a bit cheaper, and also the 24 megapixel is still good enough for most users. I will be reviewing the Z6 in about a month's time when it arrives New Zealand. So yes, definitely please come back, subscribe, like this video, and then come back in a month's time and check out my Nikon Z6 camera review. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you find it useful. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up, share it, and subscribe if you haven't already done it yet. I am also quite curious to hear about what you think about the Nikon Z7 and also the whole new Nikon mirrorless camera system in general. Are you planning to switch over to it? Have you already pre-ordered or bought a Z7 or the Z6 that's coming very soon? Or you think you will be sticking to the DSLR in the foreseeable future? Please leave a comment below and tell me what your thoughts are about the Z7 and the Nikon full-frame camera system in general. Thank you very much for watching this video again, and I will see you next time.